Hey guys, and welcome back to another StarCraft 2 cast. I'm TheSoberNinja. This is going to be the second game in this best of 5 series between Kanadan, the green Protoss, and his opponent is going to be Joe, the pink Protoss. This is going to take place on Tal'Darim Altar, a very massive map. I don't know, very macro heavy map. As you can see, there's a lot of places to expand on this map, lots of room for expansion. The natural choke. The third also has its own choke, so if you can keep vision of this kind of middle area right here, you have your first 3 bases, the 2 expansions, pretty easily held. Watchtowers cover very well as well, also to see incoming attacks from your enemies. So if you didn't watch the last game, I'm going to spoil it for you, so please exit now. Alright, so hopefully you all exited and you are watching the other video now. If you're not, you're going to have this spoiler video alert. So let's see. Joe decided to go for that 4-gate. He actually delayed Kanadan's Cybernetic core for a couple of seconds there, which a couple seconds on that can be life and death in a Protoss versus Protoss, so able to get more units out and do economic damage to Kanadan as well as defending his own base. So Joe was able to do that economic damage, and Kanadan opting to GG out of that instead of playing it out with lots of less probes than Joe would have had, and most likely losing in the end there unless, you know, Joe made some huge blunder later on in the game. But take a look at this game. Both players are scouting in the wrong directions. Excuse me, the complete wrong directions, and this is going to be the longest scout possible, not fastest map possible, which is always a fan favorite, and a fun favorite, I guess, whatever that means. But this is going to take a while for both probes to find this. I think this is like a minute and a half of scout time if you go that wrong way and you are actually right across from your opponent. So if we look at the production tab, I should probably open that. We do have only a second gateway coming down from Kanadan, whereas Joe is going for that early Cybernetics core once again. 1 gate into Cybernetics core, getting this Zealot out to do a little bit of protection, but this probe is going to finally make it in there and go straight for the pylon once again. So looks like Kanadan hates pylons. He hates opponents' pylons, opting to move out of there, seeing that that gateway was building. Saw what he needed to see, the 1 gas, the gateway, and the Cybernetics core, and throwing up his own Cybernetics core at the same time. So this Zealot will be following this probe around and not able to do much, I don't imagine. And the thing is that Kanadan will have a probe advantage, I guess, by 1. He should, at least, if we check out the units. It is actually 22-19, so Kanadan is in a pretty large lead, I guess, with those probes, seeing as how all of his are mining or doing something, whereas Joe only has, 18 probes. So Joe is at a slight disadvantage here, and he hasn't actually been making probes for a little bit now. And there goes that 4th gateway. I'm going to open the production tab up once again. So getting that 4th gate, the 5-minute mark, and he stopped his probe production, and here comes a few more probes. So he is slowing down on his probe production. He's not stopped completely, but this is the sure sign of him moving out pretty soon. Wants to have enough units to be able to take Kanadan out early in this game again, it looks like. And I think that probe in here finally got sniped. Joe's probe finally got sniped. It saw everything it needed to. It saw the timing of that Cybernetics core, saw the gateways. So that probe definitely paying for himself. And even though Joe is at a slight disadvantage when it comes to workers, 20-22, the thing about it is that Joe's warp gates are now up. So the chrono boosts are still going down on this warp gate technology for Kanadan. Gonna poke in here. Joe is going to back out, and he's going to throw a pylon up, but actually changes his mind. Going to be putting it down on the low ground, wants to have his reinforcements make it, and this will just give him a little bit more time for this pylon to finish. Pylons do build pretty quickly, but if Kanadan had moved out completely right there, I think he could have stopped this from even happening. That probe is going to get sniped back down to 19 probes, throwing up his own pylon up here to warp in units to reinforce. But here comes the main attack. Looks like Kanadan is going to choose to back out once again, which is just allowing Joe to have more of his reinforcements stream across the field. So if we look at the army tab, It is 48 to 45. Kanadan isn't a slight advantage, but he does have a 2-worker advantage, so I think that makes Joe ahead at this point. Going to try to snipe this pylon, but actually going to be forced to engage here. Kanadan is going to commit, and I think that Joe had more zealots in this battle, so he is going to come out on top. Those zealots are definitely still alive. There are 3 left, and these stalkers are forced to move back. More zealots getting warped in by Kanadan. 1 stalker going down, 2nd going down, but these zealots are right on top of Joe's army. The probe even attacking, and I think that Joe is going to start losing a few units here. He needs to back up. These zealots will do a lot of DPS if he allows them to get on top. 1 zealot left, more being warped in, more stalkers, and Joe is just have so many damage units. Going to be losing, I think, a couple more here. 1 last stalker going down there. 3 more being warped in, though, at the bottom of the ramp. And he is going to, I think, reinforce this together. So he will have 6 stalkers, but Kanadan will be able to reinforce as well since he does have that pylon so close. And now Joe has lost his proxy. So I don't think that this attack is going to work. He no longer has that proxy to reinforce. Going to be trying to attack right here, and I think, oh, that stalker getting 1 HP. Is 1 HP left, so he will be making it out of there just fine. Stalkers do move at the same speed, so there's no way that Kanadan will catch these stalkers or get any more shots off. Already starting to regenerate those shields, so 1 perk of being Protoss and warping in a couple sentries here. May need to use these force fields right out of the gate. Has 2 sentries, should be able to block this pretty darn well, or split the army in half and take the advantage. Let's see what Kanadan decides to do when he moves in here. Joe could force field this, but he decides not to, seeing as how Kanadan had backed out, throwing down his own proxy to warp in his own unit. So the 4-gate has now been flip-flopped. The 2nd gas is down for Joe, though, so he could be opting to get more sentries or teching up soon. So he has a good concave here, and it looks like Kanadan is going to move out, move back in. Just a little bit of scoot micro coming from both players, trying to just test the waters, not take too much damage. Since Protoss does have that shield, so you can't afford to test the front of your enemy's base without taking really any damage. But I think that Kanadan doesn't have enough units at this point. These sentries, if these force fields go down, Kanadan could be in a lot of trouble. Joe just needs to make sure to micro these sentries correctly, and it could be over for Kanadan in this attack. Still warping in units, wants to keep the pressure on, keep the contain. Surprised he's not expanding. He does have an advantage, but this spread right now from Joe is perfect, keeping that concave. He was getting shots off before Kanadan was there, so that perfect arc around this circle. He's going to get it again, so getting more free shots off, and I don't think Kanadan is going to be able to break this. He will definitely be in a lot of trouble if he tries to push this too much, because these sentries now have plenty of energy for force fields. They can get 2 each, almost 3. And it looks like Kanadan is going to opt to back out there, throwing down a robotics, and his 2nd gas is just completing at his base. So still chrono boosting out those workers. If we look at the units, both players have still been producing probes, just not very many. I mean, 11.5 minutes into the game, 27 probes to 24, throwing down a Twilight Council. So I believe we will be seeing Blink Stalkers, possibly Charge Lots. I would assume Blink Stalkers are the amount of Stalkers that Joe has. And from the previous game, I can tell that Joe does enjoy his Stalkers, loves to use Stalkers, and it looks like the Zealots will be looking for the proxy, but spoiler alert, they cannot attack over a cliff. Even with charge, they can't do that, so it looks like these Stalkers will be cleaning out this pylon and going back to their guard duty. So no expansion from Kanadan. He hasn't taken the time. I think the only way for him to get back in this, actually, it's hard to tell who has the advantage, because with the army tab, it's 73 to 72, so it's even right now. But with the tech play that Joe is going, I believe he will have an advantage. Seeing, I mean, the robotics bay is coming down, and there is an observer coming out, but the timing of this push is going to be so much sooner than Colossus are going to make it. I mean, look, the blink is already halfway done, and he still has to wait for his robotics and a full Colossus build time. I just don't think that he's going to have enough time to get Colossus out. He might only have 1 or not even any by the time this attack comes. I mean, look, this blink is going to be done in just about 20 seconds, so that will be the time for Joe to push. He's going to throw another pylon down to reinforce, and he is chrono boosting the last of that out, so the blink is now completed. The first Colossus is on the way, but Colossus, I mean, man, they take 75 seconds, so he has to hold this for 75 seconds and then use the Colossus correctly. And against blink Stalkers, that can't be good. The force field's going down, splitting the army straight in half. The Zealots on top of each other, doing so much damage, and a little bit of blinked micro here. Look, the 1 Stalker blink back at a time. now doing it in small groups, just using this blink to his advantage. He is going to demolish Kanadan at this rate if he can keep blinking back like this, and he is keeping the blink up, getting these less injured ones. The aggressive blink taking another 2 stalkers there, 3 stalkers, and he will be regrouping with a few reinforcements, 4 more stalkers coming up. The Colossus is out, and he's chrono boosting out an Immortal, but at this point, one Colossus with no range upgrade is going to die so quickly against this many stalkers. Stalkers moving in, going to be blinking back a couple right there, and taking out some of the reinforcements, trying to snipe out that Colossus, but doesn't get it, could blink, and there's the 4 stalkers blinking in to take out the Colossus, and I think this is going to be the end for Kanadan. He does have an observer up here, but spoiler alert, observers do not attack. So even blink microing against the last couple stalkers. I think this is that same stalker with 1 HP from earlier, keeping it alive. So there's the GG from Kanadan. Definitely a good tech switch. Not even a tech switch, just a tech play from Joe, opting to, okay, I'm going to 4-gate and then transition and get that blink and use it to the best of my ability. And Kanadan just did not have enough time. That could have gone so much more differently, I think, if Kanadan had gotten more Colossus out quicker. He could have backed that contain up, made it seem like he had more units than he had, kept Joe in the base, and then retreated when he needed to, and been building Colossus for a little bit longer. Those blink stalkers are just so good, and that micro is fantastic. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This will go to Joe, so if Joe wins the next game, this will be a 3-0 sweep in the best of 5 for Kingscup 6. Hope you guys enjoyed this cast, and I will see you guys at the next one. Thanks for watching.